although this was a small number of terrorists who has committed this crime, but to turn it as if the entire Muslim community has got to pay the price. Children in schools are being called Bin Laden when they have nothing to do with that, you know. And the Muslim community was stigmatized and marginalized.
My mother, for example, could not wear her burqa, as it's called, because of the very reason, particularly after 9/11. I think that was a big shock to everyone. It does not mean that we denounced our faith, but what it does mean, we had to be a bit cautious. My father had a long beard, and people used to call him Osama bin Laden, and it was probably, you can call it religious hatred or whatever you want to call it, but the hatred was still there.
Radicalisation is a massive problem for all of British society. We have videotapes of very young people holding guns saying they want to kill Jews, from white supremacists marching into Muslim areas asking to tear down mosques. It's affecting the whole of society, it's divisive, and it's a problem that everybody needs to take seriously.
We want our country back! We want our country back! We want our country back! We want our country back!
Racism against the Jewish community comes from the far right, from the likes of the BNP and white supremacists, to the far left and Islamic extremists. People who are vulnerable are most susceptible to being radicalised, which is why young people are often targeted. Other people who are invulnerable are university students who might be away from home for the first time, or people who are angry for whatever reason, whether they've lost their job or there's no housing available in their area. All sorts of different reasons can lead people to look for an answer, and extremists jump on that chance.
The BNP, a party I'd never heard of, came and leafleted where I was living.
This is your opportunity to make a stand.
The moment that came through my letterbox, I was hooked. There's a lot of young white working class people ask the question, what about me? What about us? You know, who's looking after us? Who's speaking for us? And that is an enormous challenge, and it's something that you can't ignore.
We have to stand up to them. What, you two? There's loads of us. Stop them infecting us. Protect our way of life.
Who have you been talking to?
It's our duty. Teach the police a thing or two. And if a couple of Parksiders get hurt, then all the better.
It offered me an outlet for all the teenage angst that I had, all the questions, and none of the real answers. It made me feel like I belonged to something that was quite special.
It's important to have people you can trust. People you would risk things for.
Radicalisation is an issue for any area. It just depends what form it takes. I live in an area where I cannot say that the threat to young people is from religious fanaticism of any colour or creed. But I also live in an area where there is a quite strong representation from the far right of British politics, and I see that being reflected in some of the things that are said by some very young pupils.
We've got examples of very young kids at mainstream schools that get bullied because they're Jewish as young as under 10. So it starts very early on, and the type of abuse changes from bullying to physical abuse.
With my little eye, something beginning with Jew!
In 2009, we reported the highest number of incidents on record. We've also had the highest number of incidents against school children in the UK, so it is a big worry.
Jew be Jew be Jew. Be Jew be Jew be Jew be Jew be Jew. Be Jew be Jew be Jew.
Do you mind?
What did you say?
Nothing.
Don't lie.
There's a tendency to almost sort of throw your hands up in horror at the idea of it, but the truth is that any young person who is in danger of radicalisation is in essence only a vulnerable person.
They are websites. Lots of them.
What sort of websites?
I don't know. Extremist.
There's a lot of things that go on in young people's lives that they want to and they should question. It's actually more about empowering them. It's actually about their self-esteem. It's actually about encouraging young people. Actually, you have an enormous part to play in shaping your community, shaping society and shaping the future.
How can we understand difference if we don't listen to one another? Ignorance causes fear, causes hate.
Yeah? Where'd you read that?
I just think we can't go around being frightened all the time.
There's always somewhere you can go for help. It could be a school teacher, it could be a friend or a family member. If you're feeling vulnerable, there's always somewhere you can go for help.